This podcast is brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those that love to make and drink great beer. To learn more or to subscribe, visit beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew. I'm in Canada, at Quebec, to be exact, for this episode of the podcast, north of the border, making a point to get out of the United States a little bit and and go visit some of our wonderful breweries to the north. Joining me for this episode is Mathieu Paquette, head brewer for Dunham, Brasserie Dunham, here in Dunham, Quebec. Welcome to the podcast, Mathieu.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Dunham is a phenomenal Saison brewer and has been doing this for a long time. Obviously, you make more than just Saison, but from my perspective, I've always enjoyed the Saisons that you all have brewed for a little while. We could get them down in Colorado, imported by Crooked Stave there in the United States. These days, they don't tend to make it down to us as much anymore. So now I have to come here. And then, of course, a couple of years ago, I ended up in the Czech Republic on the mission trip with Eloa, the master brewer for the brewery here, and we were going to talk today, but he had an emergency, and so we are talking to Mathieu, who actually makes the beer these days, and so through the course of this conversation, we're going to talk primarily about Saison, and generally in that mixed culture realm. We're going to talk about how the Dunham designs Saison, how different recipes lead to different outcomes. We're going to talk about culture. They've got a ongoing rolling mixed culture, and yet also a rolling backup strategy in order to maintain that culture, and also do quite a bit of experimentation and leading it in different directions. We're going to talk about table beer and the way that they build do some blending in order to build character, but also build that kind of lightness and drinkability within table beer. And who knows, we may talk about some other things as well. But first, if you're looking for a brewery chiller that's worry-free and tough on GWP, then look no further. G&D Chiller's Elite 290 Series chiller uses propane as a natural refrigerant with extremely low global warming potential. This natural, highly efficient refrigerant with near zero GWP will help lower your facility's energy costs and impact on the environment. They're committed to a greener, more efficient future. Visit gdchillers.com to learn more. And brewers, what if your yeast could do more than just ferment? With Berkeley Yeast, it can. They bioengineer ordinary strains and make them extraordinary, enhancing the flavors you want and eliminating the ones you don't. Now, in addition to competitive pricing, they're offering free overnight shipping on 5+ barrel pitches. Try it out. If you don't love it, they'll happily refund you. So why settle for ordinary when you can brew with better yeast? Visit berkeleyyeast.com to learn more and start brewing with science on your side. Also, every beer menu could use a refresh button on the fruit flavors. That's why it's time to revisit Old Orchard's flavored craft juice concentrate blends, where the latest additions include fruit punch, guava, kiwi, and pomegranate. They aren't stopping there and welcome flavor suggestions from the brewing industry. For more information and free samples, they're waiting at oldorchard.com/brewer. That's oldorchard.com/brewer. We are sitting outside in the beer garden, and so there are some environmental noises around us, but it's a beautiful day. It's been rainy. Now it's sunny today. So we are going to take advantage of this beautiful weather. And I will say, Mathieu, Brasserie Dunham here is a beautiful little spot. Historic old building, a little bit of frontier feel, some kind of almost Western vibes here, which is kind of fun, but a beautiful patio, lots and lots of outdoor space, and quite a little destination for folks, whether they're coming up from Burlington, Vermont, or coming down from Montreal. It's a beautiful little place here in Quebec. Well, tell me a little bit about the brewery itself, and then also give me a little bit of background on your history as a brewer.
All right. It's funny that you talk about the Western and old settings that we have, because actually the building is quite old, and Dunham used to be a stop to go from Montreal to Boston on the road when the times they had horses and everything. Sure. So it's an old building, and it does give that kind of old timer vibe. The brewery set in this building because it was actually another brewery before. It was Brasserie Frères. And the main owner, Sébastien, did buy the brewery itself with the setup that came in with the little brew house we had back then and all the installations. So that's where Brasserie Dunham started. It was in 2011. Actually, well, it did take a little time for all the legal things to change names and everything. So, I mean, on the walls and on the paychecks and everything, it was still Brasserie Frères for a little bit then. But the brewery started in 2011. And from there, I mean, it kept going bigger and bigger, especially because we did come in a very good time. Beer-wise, it was a very nice, it was a golden age. Yeah, exactly. And I got here in...
and this Quebec and Northern Vermont became an epicenter for craft beer around that time.
Yeah, very much so. It was a great time because there were not that many. I mean, in the U.S., it was always a little more, always, Vermont especially was always a little ahead on that vibe. So, but here in Quebec, we had a couple, but few microbreweries. So it was a good time to...
Those Vermont breweries really do count on, customers, Canadian customers.
Yeah, obviously.
It is interesting. I was down at Hill Farmstead earlier on this trip and then Parker Pie and the amount of, of business that they then have now lost through some of, the current political climate is very significant. And, they have noted it. It's cool to see how close they are. And this brewery we're an hour and 20 minutes away from them. Like it's not far at all.
Oh no, for us is our neighbors. I mean, we've been there many times and in Vermont, and obviously these days makes it a little more complicated to go just for a day or something.
Sure,
but still, we do enjoy the styles and the breweries down there. But yeah, again, I mean, I guess we were inspired by, the Northeast kind of styles, and we were just at the right time to pick up on stuff and try to do our own thing. And again, as I was saying, I came in 2012, and then by the end of 2012, 2013, I started brewing because I was not a professional brewer by any means before that. I mean, I homebrewed, but I did not. I don't come from. I didn't take a class or anything, but I used to work in vineyards and I homebrewed and I got my share of dealing with fermenters and cleaning and caustic and industrial. Shops, so it came kind of natural, and I guess I had an opportunity too because it was a young brewery. We didn't know much. Everybody was pitching in. Everybody was whenever we were packaging. Everybody like the boss, last guy that came in. Everybody was on it. We didn't do much things at once. It was like a brew day or a packaging day and so
everyone was learning together.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it got such a good vibe at the very beginning because it was everybody hand in hand. We were friends mostly, and it got to be very interesting because we would all touch a little here and there. We would all learn. And then from there, I mean, it grew bigger. So obviously, things got specialized. People got into different, I'd say, different jobs, different. Because we had at some point to have like people selling the beer and people managing the numbers, and so as it grew. It got a little more standard. I mean, so people would have jobs that they would keep up with, and so I got to be the main brewer, if not the only brewer, most times. But so since 2012, I've been
13 years. As the lead or head brewer, that's quite a tenure. It's unusual in the brewing world to find someone, who is, has then seen so much of that brewery history
Yeah,
all along the way.
I mean,
If they're not the brewery owner themselves.
yeah, I get that sometimes because here, I don't come from the region, but I've been here a while before actually coming and working in Dunham. But most times that I meet old friends that I haven't seen for a while, they're like, "So, are you a partner yet?" So I'm like, no. But I mean, I enjoy I like what I do. Obviously, I like brewing beer, and that's to me. I mean, I don't know. I enjoy being hands-on, and I wouldn't know what to do at a desk job. I I don't know. I think that's my cue. I guess I would take sometimes a little more. Sometimes a little smoother days because obviously because
sure.
I get to be responsible for the whole brewing. So sometimes days like if I could just unplug, and just go home. Some days I would, but no, I guess I enjoy what I do, and I wouldn't see where I could go another point in the business.
Sure. I mean, it's great that you still love it, and this deep in. There are certainly folks that spend their time and enjoy moving into different kinds of challenges, and also wonderful to see that you are still stimulated by it and still enjoy doing this. That's absolutely fantastic. Well, yeah, through that, then you've watched the entire idea of what. Or pretty much the entire idea of what Dunham beer is, and you all have developed an identity for that Dunham beer. Again, with a heavy focus on saison. Obviously, you also make an IPA. That's probably your biggest seller, but saison is still well up there, and you all have still maintained an audience for saison. Which is rarer to find these days out there in the brewing world. So I want to talk about how that identity around saison developed, how you all built cultures, built flavors, and built some familiar brands in that saison space that people have come to love and depend on. And then want to talk about how you then expanded from there and and started spreading out in that world of mixed culture beer and acidic beer, but also gentle and balanced and funky and fun. Before we do that, both classic and contemporary indie hops Lorien was developed with crisp, low-gravity beer in mind. A nod to the past with an eye on the future, Lorien seamlessly combines traditional elements of European noble hops with an elegant twang of American modernity. Low alpha and squeaky clean, Lorien provides a refined, smooth bitterness to any lager and delivers enticing flavors and aromas of lemon, lime zest, fresh melon, wildflowers, sweet hay, and cinnamon spice. Refreshing the past for a present time, Lorien's classic profile and distinct finish are conducive to celebration and appetite and evoke feelings of a grassy meadow near a cold mountain stream. Summer is near and Lorien awaits. Learn more about Lorien and the rest of Indie's varieties at www.indiehops.com. Indie Hops, life is short. Let's make it flavorful. And are you a craft brewery looking to elevate your branding? Steel chill cups are the perfect promotional tool. Crafted from 100% recyclable steel and proudly made in the USA, these 16-ounce cups come in vibrant red, blue, green, and gray. Designed to keep beverages cold and frosty to the touch, they enhance the drinking experience at festivals, tastings, and tap rooms. Customizable branding options allow breweries to showcase logos and unique designs, boosting brand recognition. These stylish cups not only serve a practical purpose, but also become keepsakes for beer lovers. Discover how steel chill cups can put your brand on every pour. Visit steelchillcups.com today. So in those early days, how did the brewery get so set on saison? Obviously, there was an excitement around saison in 2012, 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, and it felt like reviving this classic style. There were some examples of saison, obviously, out there, but they were fewer and farther between than they became in that time period. Talk to me about how you all built started thinking about saison, and then started thinking about what that kind of expression was going to be in the saison that you make?
I gotta say, at the very beginning, it was we kind of spread it out on all kinds of styles, because it was a time to experience, and we wanted. So yeah, we tried all kinds of IPAs, and we the owner came up with the idea of calling every beer that we brewed with the style. So at the very beginning, it was like we had a English IPA, we had a Belgium IPA, we had an American Pale Ale, and those were the names of the products. And actually, I don't want to give out the secret, but what came with why we like the saison caught up so much is in the water, because we're with well water, so we have a well, and it's very hard water. Has a lot of calcium and obviously all kinds of minerals, so it's very hard. And it kind of is the secret of the taste of our saison, and the yeast evolved with that kind of water. And again, it's just like brewing over and over with the same yeast really gives a kind of a personal, very Dunham feel to it. So again, the saison were a big thing. We all love dry beer. Obviously, if you tasted any Dunham beer, you'll see that most of them are really dry, even the IPAs. And so we love having nice dry beer, and the saison was the way to go. And it came out so great with the water, mostly actually, because we don't add much because the water is so filled with minerals anyway. So
when you say filled, in terms of total dissolved solids, do you know where it typically ranges? Or
oh my god, I couldn't say. I have to look at the numbers, but I know that much. I mean that it does it precipitate a lot in the hot liquor tank. So. And no, I couldn't say any numbers. I wouldn't want to say any, but I know that much that it's pretty hard.
Well, there's I think about Jester King when I hear you talk about that, and their water is again so filled with minerals. I think their TDS number last time I checked, or last time I asked, was somewhere in the 700 realm. I mean, just really, really hefty.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere in that range.
yeah. And because they have like a aquifer and a Texas limestone. And anyway, it's there's an affinity there with where the water can help you or hurt you, in that sense. And you might as well lean into the water that you have and beer that does well with that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do, because we know that. Well, obviously it affects, and as much as we could add stuff, we cannot take some out. We don't have reverse osmosis equipment, so we deal with it. I mean, so that's why. I mean, even if our IPA is a great seller because people like us, I mean, it's flavorful. It's not too alcoholic, so it kind of sells well with the crowd that we have. But definitely any people that know beer will say that saison are shining more than our IPAs. So
sure. So then, how do you approach a saison recipe? Where, as you all think about, I mean, where do you start? Grain obviously is a big part of this. For you, obviously, water is the foundation of that. And so you start thinking about this hard water, and then you need to now you start thinking about how grain will then work into the overall fermentation character. But you want to, do you want to create some contrast and some softness then, and some body with the small bill?
Yeah, we like to play a little. I mean, it's not like we reinvent the style in any ways, but I mean, we got the wheat. So we like to play because even like malted or raw wheat. And then we do love to put a little flaky, like oats, wheats again, and rye. I love rye flakes. We don't put it in every recipe, but usually adds a little body and a texture. So I like to put a little
flaked rye.
Yeah, flaked rye.
Huh.
Yeah, as again, it's not a secret. It's just and we like to, I like it when it's kind of balanced. We put a little wheat, little rye, little oats. But I guess what makes difference from one to another would be the exact amount of all of those, or we skip one. But I like having things balanced, and I guess we started there, and we changed our flagships changed very little recipe wise, and then we try something different whenever we add a product. But we know what we do well, and we know. I guess we're at that point where we kind of the hard part is try to keep it the same more than try to because we everything evolves, and sometimes with hop contracts and stuff like that, it's hard to have the exact same product. So sometimes, and being we're not that big a brewery, so we always have these issues of we gotta use what we have, and if we have sometimes we have big contracts, so we have to use a little more of that. So sometimes changes come with the necessity of using.
Sure. What's a typical balance between, say, base malt and some of these, wheat, oats, rye, kinds of?
I'd say on a typical season, I would have about, I'm trying to calculate because I got weight, but I mean, it doesn't tell you much. But I'd say probably around 70% of base malt. And then playing with, I'd say maybe just make it simple, little like 10 wheat, 10 oats, 10 rye. It's not that square. It's not, but but
you're more focused on how do we use full bags. And,
exactly. Exactly. That's the whole point. I mean,
these recipes are less precious.
It goes by the 25 kilo bag for sure.
Yeah. No, that's the recipe and those exact percentages matter so little compared to all of the rest of the process.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes we have, even if it's the same product, sometimes we're like, oh my God, let's say we're going to run out of this and we want to keep it because it's very important in some beer that we know is coming up. So sometimes we're like, we gotta stretch a little, so we're gonna put one more bag of oats instead, just to try and make things mostly as they were and as people like them. But again, with the goods that we have, sometimes we have to invent try to make it look the same, even if sometimes it's not on different in ingredients.
As long as your extract stays in a similar place, so that your ABV matches what you've already got in your pre-printed label.
I get to be very good with that. In the end, I mean,
you got to have the same amount of alcohol, or at least close enough.
That's just for legal reasons, obviously. So that if we rarely do it because I get to have a little experience on that, and I do since I brewed on this brew house for so long, I know whenever I take a little sample, I know if it's going to be just right, or if I might have ABV issues, so I have to add a little sugar or a little water to make it right. Because I'm very precise. I like to have, because there's so many things that you cannot control that I like to have those that I can control right pinned down right on the money. So I like to have my OG pretty well managed.
Yeah. Here in Quebec and in Canada in general, there's a large amount of grain grown. In fact, a lot of the barley that makes its way into American beer is actually grown in Canada. Obviously grown a lot in the Northwest and northern plains of the United States also, but you've got a wealth of grain at your fingertips that's even grown here domestically. Are there some producers or even local things that you lean on to find some character?
Yeah, we do actually, because most times we like to keep them for beers that we want to advertise as being regional or local.
Right.
So, and let's face it, they're mostly more expensive than base grain that we could get anywhere. Fill the silo. I mean, we don't buy the most expensive grain for the base grain, obviously, because money reasons. But we do have favorites that grow near here and that we could use. And sometimes they do have that actual, they make a difference. So that's why we like to save them for beers that we want to advertise being local. And
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit then about process. When you're making Saison, is there anything particular to that kind of mash process? Or are you step mashing in order to drive attenuation? Or, talk to me about that kind of process.
Yeah, we do. Step mash, and that also is mostly because of the size of the mash tun that we have. So we have to step at least to because we want to respect the 3-to-1 ratio. So for the grains that we use for a regular normal batch, I'm gonna have to put 3 liters per kilo. So and then I need just to make my recirculation, because we kind of have like a shower head to recirculate, and for that to be in the wort, I have to add another step. So I respect my 3-to-1 ratio. Usually I go about like for a saison, I go in the early 60 degree, like 63, 4, usually averaging
Celsius.
Celsius, yeah.
Yes.
So I'm sorry.
No,
I'm only
no.
talking Celsius.
Perfect.
I'm sorry.
All of our European, all of our listeners from everywhere else from the United States, and that's about 25% of our audience.
I'm guessing 150. I'm guessing
you don't convert it. We'll make the Americans work for this one.
I'm guessing around 148 degrees, and then I would get that a little higher on the second step. So with mixing water, just a little, just a couple of degrees over that, and then I get my volume for recirculation, and then I do. And when we go to the kettle, obviously the grain keeps a little of that water, so I add it to my sparge water, and but I don't think there's a trick to it. Being, I mean, that's the only brewery that I worked for, but having done collabs a lot, I don't think there's any secret. It's more managing the kit that we have, because the brew house being so big has its defects that you can't go around that. So that's mostly
quirks. It's got its own quirks.
Yeah, exactly. And you deal with it, and it's fine. I mean, right now I'm a rookie on any other brew house, but mine I know, and so I pretty much now can make it do whatever I want. But there's limits, size wise, especially. Yeah.
Well, then let's talk about let's follow the process on there, and now looking at the kind of hot side process. How do hops then enter into your saison at this point?
Our saison are not too. I mean, we have one that's hop here. I'd say is the saison Pinac. So
and that's one of your kind of flagship saisons.
Saison Pinac and Saison Rustique have been 2 best sellers. We tried a couple here and there. We had fun with those, and but the sales speak for themselves. So we keep on doing those. Some we dropped along the way, but I'd say that we don't. They're not very bitter. So on my saison, I don't put any like a 60-minute hop. I boil for an hour, but no hops at the very beginning. Most times it's gonna be like a 30-minute hop and very gentle. So it's not too.
And this is a steam system?
Yeah, it is a steam jacket. Yeah, and so
you're not driving a lot of direct fire color or anything like that?
No, we don't do that. No, not even, and I don't, or very rarely use the jackets within the mash tun. Whenever we want to put color, we just like keep the boil going, or actually play with the actual grains.
Sure.
Yeah, but no, we don't. We're not like into there used to be a time when that was popular, like old ales and barley wine and stuff like that. But even if we do one experiment with this here and there, it's not our mainstream beer. Saison, saison and ales, or lagers now take a little more room than they did. But I'd say that we don't play much with the boiling system. We just want like a nice clean boil and a little bitterness, but not too much, not too aggressive. And the hops is mostly Whirlpool, and we do a little dry hop on the Pinac there to just kick it up.
Sure. What hops do you lean to, typically? And obviously some of this is going to change and create some different character within saisons, but something like Pinnacle.
Pinnacle, we use four. The original recipe is 4 hops. We got Citra, Simcoe, Topaz, and Saz. So it's kind of it's really a blend, but that kind of again wants to be balanced, because we don't go too fruity, not too grassy. It's kind of they balance each other out, and most times is what we use. Again, it might be 1 or 2 batches that we're like, we're tight on one, so we might use less and compensate with the other. Rarely we're going to put something else in it, but I've seen it happen, like we're missing, like, for instance, Topaz. So we don't have any. So sometimes we would put an extra one, but if not, we could just try even out with the 3 hops that we have left. So just not to cheat too much.
It's saison.
Yeah, exactly. It's not focused on the hops itself, and they balance well together. So it's not like 100% Citra or Simcoe. So it's not. I try to keep it as identical as they are, but being a microbrewery, everybody knows that there's no 2 batches alike.
Sure. That's an interesting dynamic to have, some new and some old, and try to work through that kind of contrast between them, while also keeping it subtle, where we think about Citra as this over the top IPA hop, but in smaller amounts and that kind of scope, it just adds a nice little character to it. And Citra and Saz, and Simcoe, and Topaz.
Oh yeah, okay. And has been the recipe for a year, like I'd say at least 10 years now. Yeah, I'd say Pinac is at least 10 years old, if not 11. I'm trying sometimes, because I have a good memory for some things, but sometimes I'm like everything. I've been here for so long that everything, when I think back, everything is like 5 years ago. But some are 8 years ago, some are 3 years ago. But in my mind, it's always like, oh yeah, we did that like 5 years ago. So
and then just typically, equal amounts of each of those hops.
Yeah, pretty much.
Obviously, as you say, sometimes that shifts a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. But pretty much, I'm gonna use. Let's say I'm gonna use a Citra as the bittering part. So I'm gonna put like 2 kilos or 1.5 kilo. It doesn't mean much, because I got a big brew house, so it's like 3,500 pre-boil, 3,500 liters. So quantities might make more sense in that direction. But I put a little Citra, and then I'm going to put hops like at 15 minutes and then 10 minutes. And I'm going to be doing like Citra first, and then Simcoe, and then Topaz, and then a little Saz at 5 minutes. And then they all come together at the exact same amount. If I have a unlimited supply of each, they're going to be the exact same amount for the Whirlpool.
Huh.
And again for the dry hop.
Interesting. Why do you stage it out there just for the process of I don't putting one hop in at a time?
Yeah, well, I guess we started like that, and sometimes we realized that it might not be essential. But, being old school, old timers, we kind of love the way we do it, and say, well, why change something that is working well?
Interesting to put Citra in there earlier in the boil and let more of that volatilize, and then Saaz at the very end.
Yeah.
Conventional logic might be switching those. I'm curious about that.
But again, it's not because we don't want to showcase Citra or anything. It's just a matter of using the amount of alpha acids that it has,
sure,
just to pinpoint the bitterness that we want and then because that hops the 30 minutes is not gonna show on the beer on the product after, but it's just and again, why Citra? Because that's the biggest contract we ever had is Citra, so we use it a lot. There's Citra in most our products now is getting we things are shifting, but for years we had a lot of Citra, so it would come in just as a way to use a little more.
Sure.
And
efficient at bittering, obviously, given the alpha content.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because again, we're not going super bitter, so it's just a way to use some and then keep it within the range, so it wouldn't show it. But after that, again, we love having balanced results. So Citra is used exactly the same as the others, and Saaz in the end is just, I don't know. We try, I guess, at the very beginning, we wanted to make things a little more complicated, feel that every minute mattered, and then if we just kept it. So I don't see any because again the goal at the end is to have it just balanced, not really saying that's Citra is taking so much room, or Saaz, because obviously we do like lagers with 100% Saaz. That there we don't want to switch it, and we won't brew it if we don't have the exact amount. We won't put anything else in it. But the Pinac is just easy to drink saison, and we came up with this and we kept it.
What's the general IBU goal for the beer as a whole? Not knowing that bitterness is not the point of this beer, but just as people are thinking about quantities that you might be adding.
All right. Well, usually I'd say in the saison, we would go for 18, 20, let's say. I don't think we go more than 25 IBUs. 20 would be average. I would have to go back at the recipe to really know exactly, but I'd say early 20s would be pretty much the average.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the other saisons and different kinds of hop expressions in that you might, use to turn those in different directions. And then after that, I definitely want to talk about fermentation because, that's obviously a big piece of this. First, breweries don't just need a point of sale system. They need a one-stop shop operating system. That's where Arrived comes in. Not only does Arrived offer a world-class POS built specifically for breweries, but they also provide Arrived brewery management, e-commerce, and more to help breweries scale and thrive. From taproom to distribution, Arrived gives breweries the tools to streamline operations and boost profits all in one powerful platform. Visit Arrived, ARRYVED.com to learn more. Also, this episode is sponsored by PackTech, delivering craft beer multi-packing you can trust. PackTech's handles are made from 100% recycled plastic and are fully recyclable, helping breweries close the loop and advance the circular economy. With a minimalist design, durable functionality you can rely on, and custom color matching, PackTech helps brands stand out while staying sustainable. Trusted by craft brewers nationwide, they offer a smarter, sustainable way to carry your beer. To learn more, visit packtech-opi.com. That's PAKTECH-OPI.com. Also, if you're launching a brewery or acquiring an existing one, consider our brewery workshop and new brewery accelerator, September 14th through 17th in Fort Collins, Colorado. 4 days, we engage in panel discussions, technical brewery tours, networking, small working group sessions, and we help you better understand and prepare for the challenges of brewery operation. Tickets are on sale now. Visit breweryworkshop.com for more information and to secure your spot. So Mathieu, how do you, outside of Pinnacle, how do you then think about hops in different kinds of contexts and different kinds of saison? Because they are such an effective and interesting, easy way to create different saison expression.
Yeah, well, obviously we like to play with the new hops that come out.
Even in a saison
Yeah, well, I mean, usually saison hops is not the focus, but let's say sometimes we're like at one point I remember just as an example that we wanted to do a saison with the Tahoma hops, and we were planning on doing like 100% Tahoma. And then I don't recall exactly what happened with the shipping, and we didn't have any Tahoma for the beer, and we had the brew on schedule, and it was like, well, we got to do something anyway, so we actually called the product No Tahoma, and ended up using other stuff. And again, just it was funny because that became and one product that sold well. I mean, we don't brew it as often right now, but it was just a funny way to get out of what we had thought that was something again that we wanted to do, and we never actually did one with Tahoma. So yeah, again, that was funny, but if not, the essence is just try to find balance. And sometimes I know that like hops that were very popular at some point always come around, and we find some. Again, Citra is a really big. It comes in a lot of our products because we had so much, and it is very nice, and it's easy to blend. To me, it's a good hop. I mean, sometimes we say, "Oh my God, again Citra," but we have it, and it's good.
Sure. Well, let's talk about fermentation. You know, your saisons are fermented with a mixed culture, and it's a culture. Tell me about the origin of the culture, and then over many years now, the culture has grown and developed. You don't go back and back to square one of that culture and reset, but you do keep tell me about your process of making sure that you're always going to have a healthy culture, but also having that culture continue to evolve over the past decade.
All right, well, we started with a blend. It's a farmhouse blend, and it's straight out of White Labs, I think it was back then. And we used it, and we liked. Obviously, it's a mix, so it has Saccharomyces and Brettanomyces, and it's supposedly a secret was actually in the blend from the lab, So, but anyways, we took that and kind of figured out what it was, and then as we used it with our products, we cropped. Obviously, for money reasons, but also for having a home taste of the product. So we would repitch again, and it would evolve, and everybody would like and it did do really nice with our water and our style, and so we kept it. But then we wanted to have a different saison. So at some point we were like, oh, let's kick it. Let's have a full breath. So we would have we tried doing rustic, for example. We kind of had a line with Le Christie, Pure Breath, or I'm forgetting most of it, but we had like a series which we tried for that one time. We would buy the breath, the single pitch, and then when the ones that were most interesting, I kept, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna save a little of that pitch, and then whenever I had the opportunity to try it blending with our regular farmhouse, whenever I had an extra pitch, like sometimes we have like many saisons going at the same time, so I know that I have backup if something turns not the way we expected. So I would blend it, just a little. I'd say like 20% maybe, or 30% with the actual blend that we had, the farmhouse, and then see how it goes. And usually the yeast responded very nicely. It was always a good thing, and then it kind of faded with the subsequent batches. But the very first one, when we blended it, it was always had a little something different, and most times very interesting. And then so a
little fresh hit of Brett, a little 20% hit of a single Brett strain would just give you this nice little boost.
Exactly. And again on the next batch, it would show again a bit, but not as obvious as it was the very first time. But we were happy with the results, so we would keep it. And then we tried another Brett for another batch, and then because we don't juggle with that many yeasts, it's hard to keep them all alive and in good shape. So sometimes when we do have something and we want to show off the yeast, we do one batch and then we kind of flush it, or we keep it because we like keeping it. We freeze it. We have a lab guy, so it's easy enough for us to keep everything in stock. But if it's a yeast that we didn't use subsequently, sometimes it kind of dies out. I mean, even if it's frozen, we like to refresh even the frozen ones. So at some point, some we just let go. But it was, I mean, with the years, it's hard to say the exact amount of all the yeast that are in the blend.
Since you've just been adding all the way along
exactly,
there.
Sure. And just always as it kept, I'm guessing that some have been like overwhelmed by others inside because it's very hard to tell one from another, even on the microscope. But we're happy where it is. And whenever accident happens, we know we have like a fresh batch that's never more than a couple of months old that we could regrow, and so we don't go back to the lab and
So then basically what you're doing is taking a snapshot of that culture every couple of months, and your lab is banking or saving that snapshot of what that yeast was every 2 months, so that if something goes wrong, you can just grow that back up and or if you find that whatever you add takes it down a direction that you don't love,
we could go back to the original,
right.
And it's important to have that, because now it has become a signature, and it would take some time to come back to that product, so it would be a shame to lose it. But I mean, we have to keep most of all our yeast actually are saved up, because some don't last that many generations. Our saison blend is just like eternal, but we have to restart most of our yeast at some point. Like lagers don't last like a couple of generations, and then we go back to square one, and then the saison blend is a good example of one that just keeps on living. And
talk to me about the kind of fermentation dynamics. Now, how do you then use this mixed culture with with these saisons? You have both stainless tanks and a couple of foeders. How is the in terms of temperature and time, how does that fermentation unfold?
All right. Usually, back in that evolved a bit.
Sure.
We used to ferment at 28 degrees our wild stuff, and it's all it's in stainless. Very first fermentation is in stainless, and sometimes we put it in barrels or foeders after the first fermentation, just to limit the amount of deposit in the barrels, and
so that sack does some initial heavy lifting.
Exactly, because bread usually takes a couple more hours, if not days, to actually kick in. So the sack picks up the very first sugars, and then as it kind of tires out, the bread just keeps on going, and does a very nice dry beer. And we've pulled back a bit on the temperature. We now ferment at 24 Celsius. Again, it's just things we tried. Make it see just because it stretches the fermentation a bit. Not by much, because it's they ferment saison. I mean, the wild yeast it does ferment and quickly. So holding back a bit on temperature kind of gives it a little more kind of a little more delicate, I guess, because the high temperature makes it work real fast and develop some interesting phenols.
Sure.
But we found out with trying here and there with error, just see what would be the perfect temperature. So now we're stuck on 24 degrees, or sometimes we're gonna let it free rise at some point. But for new products that we want to try something different, but mostly 24 degrees, and it ferments in a matter of days, usually 4 or 5 days. It's pretty done. We might have, depending on like the Pinac has a little dry hop, so we might have a little hop creep on that, but usually we go and we dry hop pretty late with the saison, because it's not, again, a big focus on the hops, or we don't want it too cloudy or anything like that. So
yeah, and this blend that you have doesn't really get a lot of lactic acid bacteria expression if you're throwing that kind of hop load into it.
No, it's not. We don't. Whenever we use lactic, we did sour beers, we still do, but again, the market kind of shifted on that, so it's not. It doesn't sell as well as it did a couple of years back. So, but the only time that we're gonna use it on the saison is when we're gonna mix. Sometimes we're gonna mix. What we do more regularly right now is put a little bit of the foeder, because again we have two, but they don't evolve the same way. One has very active energy and is going acidic very very quickly. So we used it for different products that we were like, oh yeah, okay, so we could try a little acidic. So because they're big foeders and it's hard sometimes to maintain, we have to use it all quick if we don't want to go overboard. So one of those foeders now we kind of almost keep for show, because it's getting too intense on the acidic. The other one is nicer. So and having it so big, it kind of has a advantage for being stable. So we use a little in batches, like the other table beer.
So tell me about that then. This is a different recipe than that goes into the foeder beer. Obviously, it's not going to have the same kind of hop load, or else it wouldn't develop that kind of.
No, we don't have. We don't put. I wouldn't say any hops. We put maybe a handful, just make it, just keep it nice and sane and all. And we're going to do, whenever we fill, because that doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it's like, okay, let's reset, So
right.
we're
Most
going
of
to
the
use.
time, you'll pull some out and then
that's what we do.
Pull some out and then load up.
Yeah, trying to measure. And when we have like a full batch of headspace, then we just brew right in it, without going through the stainless part. But mostly when we start from scratch, but not from scratch, but when we use it all and cleaned it and everything, then we're gonna do, because for us 10,000 liters represent mostly more or less 3 batches. So we'll do 2 in stainless, and then we'll top the last one brewing right into the foeder itself. And then we use that, and then we're gonna let obviously the microbes do most of the work there. And,
is that a similar wort, or is that one say maybe more a higher dextrin, like longer kind of process? Wort?
I'd say it's kind of similar. Before when we had the 2 very fully operational, we were said like, oh, this one could be mostly wheat, and this one could be mostly rye. But that when they started to separate from what we wanted, then that kind of went to hell, because we're like, well, all right, but we still want. This one works really well for that style, but then what do? We change the cereal, its function or anything? And we're like, yeah, you know what? It was not like that rye anyway, that much rye. But we were at the very beginning, like one was mostly okay. Let's put whatever we add on the base malt would be more with a high rye tendency.
Right.
But now I'd say that's it's not always the case. It's kind of and again, it keeps it balanced, and it's being so tall and big makes it easy for us to just take a little and fill it up, and then we just adjust. We're like, and again, we use stuff that we have lying around. It's sometimes we want to keep certain grains, specialty grains, for stuff that we need to show those off. So I say that the foeder takes the easy brew, and it's very easy to switch whenever it arranges us.
Sure. So then you were starting to talk about table beer, where now you brew a lighter saison, but then blend some of this foeder beer back into it to add this kind of character, and so you've got a multiple stream beer that then comes together as its own thing. Talk to me about that process.
Well, table beer is the very beginning of the idea was to make a beer that was easy to drink, not too much alcohol, and so we just went a little lighter on the recipe. And the foeder doesn't have that alcohol potency, so it's not it's still very light. And so we add about 10% of the foeder at the very end of the fermentation, just so we know make sure that we have our OG right, and then when it's done, we add a little of that wild stuff, and I'd say about 10%, and then we let go for a while, just make sure everything is nice and developing okay, and then we just...
How long is a while for that to meld together?
I'd say, because it evolves, so we don't wait for the whole process to in a stainless tank, so but we leave it days for sure.
Sure.
And then the wild stuff will evolve within the bottle. We just try to make sure that we don't because we do a bottle re-ferment. So we want to make sure that re-fermentation plus the wild stuff won't be too much and gushing and
right.
So we go easy on the wild stuff and on the sugar for the re-fermentation, and usually does pretty well. If you leave it out for years in the sun, might go a little too active, but usually they go months and they just get better. Most of our saison really evolve and really get, I'd say they're at their best 6 months after the actual bottling. When they're very fresh, they're good. There's nothing to say about that, but they kind of, and even a year after, obviously the Pinot that's a little hoppier is not going to have that hop punch that has the very first weeks. But something that is a little more subtle, like the Saison Rustique, is gonna be fantastic, and within 6 months, 8 months, a year, if it was well preserved. And Bière de Table also, and it obviously it's gonna be more the wild part is gonna take over faster in the Bière de Table because we actually add it on right there. So it's very interesting to see how it evolves, and it does make a big difference.
It's been fascinating to me. A couple weeks ago, a friend of mine opened up even a dry hopped bottle of a Casey Saison from Colorado, and my assumption was that a 4-year-old bottle of dry hopped Saison was going to be well past its prime, and it was bright and beautiful, and I was just kind of stunned at how incredible that beer was. And I think you're right, there is something to this bottle conditioning process that builds this life, but also just allows all of that to come together in an incredible way. And so now I'm thinking about bottle conditioning, long-term bottle conditioning, more than I have in years and years and years and years.
Yeah, and it's very because it's a living product, obviously.
Right.
And when you stabilize, whenever you can, and do stuff like with forced gas, I mean, it's still alive, but it's kind of stable. But the wild yeast and the process of re-fermenting in a bottle makes something that is really obvious to see the actual evolution of the product, and to me it's beautiful. And again, I'd say they're better 6 months, and we found I keep stuff in my basement that have been there for years, and I know that like a 10-year-old beer might not be in its prime, but sometimes we open stuff and it's incredible how it actually maintained itself and is not bad. I mean, it's not the best, but it's not bad, and it's like way past its.
I also think that there's an interesting evolution if I look at the last 15 years where some of those early bottle conditioned, we'll just say that craft brewers in general got better at this process later in the 20 teens, and that some of the more, later of those generations might also be lasting and be working better in that bottle than they might have from the very earliest days of those 20 teens. And so in the bottles that I have opened, in some sort of recent time frame, you can see there's that shift as more information got out there and brewers just grew more disciplined and about how they bottle condition. There's some significant improvement in those bottles themselves.
I think so. And controlling, like sometimes I guess that mistakes, because we also had our own share of experience where things would gush, and then trying to figure out why and how. But usually it's pretty simple. I mean, either we didn't wait enough on the product, so it was not like totally done, so you got to add that to the sugar you put in, or we would just, we wanted at the very beginning, again, it was like, oh yeah, saison, Belgian beer is supposed to be super effervescent, and so we would try and kick a good effervescence when it was ready, a couple of weeks after the actual bottling. So and we got there, but it would still evolve and then create too much effervescence. So we were just holding back a little on the sugar, and makes it. I mean, it's not like bad to have. It's not flat. Don't get me wrong. I like my beer effervescent, but to hold back just a little on the sugar that you put in, and just wait. And I think time does it better than we can most times.
Sure. Well, as we finish up here, let's think about the future in the context of the past. You've been here 13 years. Beer continues to evolve. It was evolving rapidly then. Mm-hmm. It's changing even now. You all have still kept Saison relevant for a certain part of the audience up here, and for that I thank you all, because now I'm back on a Save Saison kick. But from your perspective, what do the next few years look like? What from Dunham's perspective, what how do you expect things to move and change over the next few years for the brewery?
Well, I'm expecting, it's very hard to say because the market's always changing, and it's very hard to say what's going to come next. Because, I mean, we've seen things since the past couple of years that sometimes you think that people are looking a little too hard on stuff, putting anything and everything in beer. So, and we did our share of that too. I mean, we did. We tried to we tried to forecast the tendencies, and I mean, we did fruit beer, fruity saison, the sour. There was a whole sour episode, and now lagers are pretty big. So I mean, we went there, and now we have several lagers on the shelf. So. I think though having had that whole that whole experience, having all kinds of beer, all kinds of breweries, most trying everything that they can to stick out and stand out from the crowd. I think for what I think we're kind of done with eccentric ingredients. What I feel like now is that people know what they like, experienced a lot, and know what they like. So I think that having them rediscover styles that are classics. I for myself like pale ale a lot, and I mean, if you ask anybody around me, they'll tell you that I'm kind of consistent guy on what I like and what I mean, I'll try anything and everything just for the experience, and but the beer I drink is pretty much the same throughout the years,
right.
and the seasons too. So I think that evolving on like bring back the classics or stay, what you do well, just stick with what you do well. I think is a good strategy because people now have less money than they had. So, and let's face it, it's kind of a luxury product when you go to the supermarket and you try to have a bargain on your food. I mean, most people will try to have that on their drinks too. So it's hard to promote beer that sometimes is 1.5 or even 2 times the price of another beer. So I think that just having something that is well made that you do well is the way to go for the future, because experimenting with all those styles just get all spread out, and it's hard to do them all well.
Sure.
And to keep up with all those new tendencies and all is fun to do, but I think things are going to calm down and we're going to go to classics. And
Sure. And Dunham here is a interesting like hospitality concept as well as brewery. We talk about the beer garden, and there is this beer garden between the historic buildings. There's also an expansion beer garden that the brewery has acquired from the city, with a big outdoor space, containers, and good weather and summertime. It becomes a place where lots of people can come out and drink beer and have, and eat and socialize with each other. There's a guest house here next to the brewery where I stayed last night. It's in that very European kind of tradition where you can get a beer and you can also stay at the brewery. It's such a cool setup there. A full restaurant, pub that's open several days of the week. Serving food for people that come here, and so it's as much of an experience of the brewery in this place and a reason to come, and a draw to pull people in so that people can make a trip and also experience those beers here as much as it is just also selling packaged product out there in a marketplace. And that's it's cool to see both of those sides of the business. And then you also have a unique setup with Zach and Bad Bones Brewery, where he has now put in the Bad Bones brand of their own small 5-barrel brew house tucked away in your brewery. And so he works for Dunham, but also brews his beers here in this kind of interesting kind of collab way where, that's a cool structure there to make more use of this place.
Yeah, but because there was at very beginning, there wasn't much room to do that. But with the waves of the barrel-aged beer being less of a trend and stuff like that, so we got we kind of flushed not flushed, but I mean we used most of our barrels. We used to have like a 260 barrel share, and now we're more like in the 70, maybe 75 barrel range. And so we had all that room, and Zach is talented brewer, and he worked for Dunham, and he had that dream of pursuing his own brewery. And since it's hard for somebody to start with all those license and equipment that you have to have, and we wanted to keep talent close, and it's always it's nice to have, because we're neighbors now, so if we want to do a smaller batch, we could use his kit.
Sure.
And he gets to use all of our packaging equipment, and but now mostly he's on doing his stuff now. He doesn't work not much for Dunham anymore, but he's going to be there if we need a hand on something, but
it's a creative way to use the resources that you have here and find another way to activate that kind of capacity and everything else that you've already in. So that's super cool.
Yeah. And he does brew stuff that is different from what we do. because he equipped himself with a reverse osmosis equipment, so he could deal. He doesn't have to. Like
he's not making hazy
doesn't have to work
IPAs
with the water. No, exactly. No. So that's nice because it's beers that we don't go for mostly, and that's his style definitely. So and it kind of makes a nice like village story, and it's people come here now because sometimes people are and they get to come here because they heard Bad Bones was new because we're not new, obviously. So it's makes for variety and neighbory feeling. And
this is one of those cases because you're an hour outside of Montreal and a ways from northern Vermont. Like if people are coming here, it's a small town.
Oh, it is a small town.
It's a small town. So it needs to become a destination and it needs to have a draw. And so having more things to draw people here is more reason for people to come and more things for them to do while they're here. And having beer be the focus of that is it's a very cool thing. Well, Matthew, I think that's a great place to bring this to a close. G&D Chiller's engineering crew have been piping breweries, wineries, and distilleries for more than 30 years. Berkeley Yeast bioengineers ordinary strains to make them extraordinary. Old Orchard formulates custom blends featuring specialty ingredients. Indie Hops Lorien combines traditional elements of noble hops with an elegant twang of modernity. Discover how Steel Chill Cups can put your brand on every pour at steelchillcups.com. Arrived as your one-stop brewery operating system, PackTech is trusted by craft brewers nationwide for their smarter, sustainable way to carry your beer. And the Brewery Workshop will help prepare you for the challenges of brewery operation. If you've enjoyed this episode, go to beerandbrewing.com, click on the subscribe button, become a subscriber to Craft Beer and Brewing, and help us continue to bring these great conversations to you, along with fantastic issues of all of the magazines that we produce and all the other things, video classes, all of that. Mathieu, if people want to learn more about Brasserie Dunham, where can they find more about Brasserie Dunham out there in the digital world or here in its physical space?
Yeah, I mean, we have a Facebook page, obviously, and on we have a page, so it's pretty easy to find because we're not that new. So I'm guessing, you could go either on the Facebook, follow us on Facebook, or just go see brasserieDunham.com. And come here. I mean, the best way to see it all is to come and visit and have a taste for yourself.
I agree. Thank you so much for talking to me about brewing.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those who love to make and drink great beer. To learn more or to subscribe, visit beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew.